Hi, everybody. I'm Jeanette Bonner.
And I'm Traci Redmond.
And welcome to #Single, a podcast about navigating being a strong, independent woman in an online dating world. I wanted to start this podcast because I was mainly using Facebook to voice my frustrations around dating, whether that be laughably awful dates, being stood up, or trashy inbox messages and pictures. And I would finish each post with the #single, which I thought was a bit of an ironic joke at the end and also really summed everything up nicely. And why this situation frustrated me particularly is because deep down, it felt to me that somehow we as a society had regressed. Because here we are in an advanced society with all of the civil rights and liberties that come with that advancement. And while we have lengths to go, we've made a lot of strides in equality and in what is acceptable and unacceptable treatment by others, particularly in regards to how men treat women. And yet, I go onto these dating apps, which is supposed to make finding an acceptable partner somehow easier than it was before. And instead, I feel like the cultural values acceptable within this system are completely out of touch with what's happening and acceptable in the real world. Online dating has simply made being a woman infinitely more complicated.
We live in New York City, and over 50% of the population here is female, and over 50% of us are single.
And while that may be a statistic influenced by a ton of factors, and certainly not unique to New York City, I particularly was looking within my own personal circle of single gal pals, and I realized, my God, we are fucking catches. We are all college educated, we all have amazing careers, we've been successful and made strides in those careers, we're outspoken, we're intelligent, we can hold a conversation, we're fun at a party, but we can hold our liquor. We make wise decisions, we own apartments, we save our money for vacations around the world. We're so well-rounded and interesting and independent, and I honestly don't understand why all of us are single.
So it occurred to us maybe it wasn't just us. Maybe this was a societal phenomenon. We're not starting this podcast to solve society's problems. We certainly do not have all the answers, but we do know now, more than ever, is that women's voices need to be heard. And if that is something we feel frustrated about, there's probably other women around New York City and around the country, maybe around the world, that are experiencing the same thing. We wanted to sit down with our most valued and valuable single, awesome, badass, kick-ass, independent, strong girlfriends and talk about the conflicts we're experiencing while trying to date through an online mechanism.
And then we realized that guys needed to be included in the conversation as well, because it is a conversation, not a bitch fest, gossip session, man-bashing support group. You know, how do we grow as a society if we're not together about why this isn't working?
So we've invited some single guys to share their thoughts and opinions.
But what kind of feminist podcast would we be if we didn't acknowledge that men have been running these conversations for far too long?
So, in the immortal words of our great Maxine Waters, and Maxine as she's now known, we are reclaiming our time by giving our male guests 5 minutes to share their thoughts at the end of every episode. We'll be referring to these opinions as the voice of the patriarchy. For fun, but that's just a feminist joke. Their opinions, like ours, are their own and don't belong to all of mankind.
And maybe by airing our frustrations, we can connect with other people who are experiencing frustrations. And maybe, just maybe, we can bring to light this really funky, infuriating, befuddling situation that we all find ourselves in.
So welcome to #Single.